Personally, I think the one key differentiator, one key most significant thing that a marketer can do to improve the overall quality of their campaigns comes down to thinking and planning. It really does. We all, I think, have experienced environments where we're so busy trying to get the next campaign out, getting it out the door, going, and then picking ourselves up, moving on to the next one, and just continually being on that treadmill of activity that we oftentimes, I believe, don't take the time to reflect on. If I actually did fewer campaigns, but actually thought them through more methodically, integrated the connections within there, took the time to ensure that the salespeople wanted the leads that you were trying to generate for them, took the time to ensure that from a client's perspective, their expectations were going to be met, that you weren't going to have the situation where a client responds to your campaign and then you leave it 6 weeks before you do the next activity with them. Those, I think, are some of the not very, not rocket science things that we could do that just make the biggest of differences.
I think the key thing is to understand how you make your message compelling. Too many marketing activities I've seen have been interesting but haven't driven me to a so what and what must I do now. And so a focus that I try and put through the businesses I'm involved in is on how do we find the compelling message within the noise that we take to market ourselves. What is going to get people to take an action now because they really see the benefit of it to their role and their jobs. So that's the first thing. The second thing, I think, in terms of what marketers must do to influence more positively the behaviour of their prospects and their customers, is to think about relationships. It's an old adage, but what is it that I can do to win over the trust of that individual, to get them on my side so that they're prepared to listen to my compelling message and they're going to trust in it. And so how you work on relationships and how you work on single-minded, narrow, focused, compelling messages are the two important things to drive behaviour.
You need one big idea. Get your big idea, and then don't try to change that for every channel, but try to make that big idea come alive in as many channels as you possibly can. Right? So don't dilute everything by changing it into different places. Actually, what you want is one really strong message, and then as many possible ways that you can think of for people to interact and have a touch point with that and join the conversation. So that's the key. It still comes back to a big idea, a big creative standpoint, and then just making it really, really easy for people to come into contact with that message.
I think that one of the things that people kind of forget is all the channels that they have available to them. I think once you come up with a strategy and a plan, it's very easy to keep executing on the channels that you know. And, let's be fair, the more you know a channel, the more you can optimize that channel and the better you do. But I think that every once in a while, marketers should really kind of stop, in a way, what they're doing, lift their heads up a bit, and just kind of look at all the channels that are available to them and brainstorm how each of those channels, potential channels, could bring them leads. Because I think things are changing so quickly in B2B marketing, particularly online, that there isn't one prescriptive way of doing things, and you really do have to reassess, I'd say every quarter at least, if not more often, and just see what channels are available and how they can help.
I know some people don't share this view, but marketers think that they can engineer the sales cycle process. So it's quite typical for marketing people to say, okay, we walk these people through a awareness, interest, desire, action process. A consequential kind of series of events and activities will lead to this. So you've got if we approach 10,000 people here, we will get 6 leads out the back of it. And you lead with that kind of engineering mentality. I think that can be a mistake, because it doesn't take account of the sort of the irregularities in the buying process, that people don't buy. They've had 3 emails, therefore they're going to buy. They've had an email event, therefore they're in a position, and therefore they've turned into a lead. It just doesn't work. Life doesn't work like that. People don't work like that. So I think that is probably another fault that kind of some marketers suffer from.
For me, in the next 12, 18 months, 2 years, technology marketing needs to become very specific. You need to be targeting groups of 50, groups of 30, groups of 10, and honing messages to that. And that requires not a segmentation strategy, but that requires a fundamentally different approach to how you do marketing, because your deliverables need to be much more flexible, your communication style needs to be different. But it's what will make the difference between those that succeed and those that don't, I believe. Going forward, I think for companies of any size to be successful, account-based marketing is where it's going to be at. It's going to be all about picking your bets, making your choices, and then investing into it, understanding that, you know, an opportunity in one account, say O2, isn't an opportunity for the whole company. You know, there are so many different entities, so many different organizations within the organization. You could spend, you know, a year developing opportunities in one account and still have only touched half of the business probably. So for me, you can still generate enough quantity and at the right quality, but it may be coming from smaller numbers of companies.